Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania.
Where we discuss history and hauntings.
Today, we're going to be traveling to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, talking about the Jennie Wade house. I'm Erica.
And I'm Sarah.
Let's get started. Okay, so when I was younger, my dad took my sister and I to Gettysburg for a day trip. I'm pretty sure that we did it multiple times, but I specifically remember the Jennie Wade house. It's a sad story about the only civilian killed by fire during the Battle of Gettysburg.
Oh, wow. I had no clue. I've been to Gettysburg a few times and I've never even heard of this person.
Yeah, so yes, the only civilian killed by fire. When I was younger, I thought that she was the only civilian killed in the entire Civil War.
Oh,
that was incorrect.
That's optimistic.
It really was. And I found out when I did this research that was incorrect.
Oh no. Oh my gosh, just now. Found.
Oh yeah, 2022.
Oh.
So I'm going to talk about her history at first because there are several parts of it that kind of lend themselves to her ghosthood, I guess we'll call it.
Okay.
So she was born in 1843. Her full name was Mary Virginia Wade, and her family likely referred to her as Jennie because of Virginia. Mm-hmm. But after the war, there were multiple printing errors. And so that kind of resulted in her official nickname being Jennie.
Ah.
Yes. So she was one of 6 children, and she was a seamstress with her mother when she was younger. And her father was often absent and in jail and was usually a drunk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So not great on his side, but her and her mother were close. Regarding her love life, so there were no confirmed engagement reports and no official wedding, but it was rumored that Jennie was engaged to her childhood friend, Johnson Jack Skelly, because she actually had a photo of him in her pocket when she died.
How old was she again?
20.
Okay, that feels old for that time.
Yes. Yeah. So, again, no confirmed engagement reports, no wedding before Jack Skelly went off to war, but because she was holding his picture, it's kind of,
right,
assumed that something was going on between them. So, in 1862, Jennie's sister, Georgiana, known as Georgia, married her fiancé, and they moved into a 2-story red brick house at 548 Baltimore Street in Gettysburg. George's husband joined the Union Army, but wasn't stationed in Gettysburg, and also wasn't present for the birth of their firstborn son in 1863. So when their son was born, this was right at the start of what the Gettysburg Battle would be.
Oh, wow.
And because of that, and because there were soldiers kind of moving into Gettysburg, Jennie and her mother moved into Georgia's house 5 days after the birth of their firstborn, just to take care of her, make sure that she was safe, right, because the battle was going on right outside.
Yeah, literal war, 5 days postpartum.
Yes. And then after the events that occurred during the Battle of Gettysburg, this house at 548 Baltimore Street would be known as the Jennie Wade house. So,
even though it was Georgia's?
Yes.
That's funny.
I feel kind of bad for Georgia. I mean, you invest so much in a house.
Yeah.
And then it's known as your sister's house.
Yikes.
So, during the war, Jennie and her mother not only kind of cared for her sister, but the house was used to care for some of the soldiers because, again, right outside. And they stayed even after multiple bullets were pelting the side of their house daily. So the Gettysburg battle was happening from July 1st to July 3rd. And again, multiple bullets were pelting the side of the house during this time. One bullet actually flew through the house and hit a bedpost where Georgia was lying with her newborn son.
Oh my gosh. I cannot imagine.
Yes. So, I mean, it was crazy. And they stayed just to take care of the soldiers. Yeah.
I mean, I guess, what are you going to do?
Right.
Like, where are you going to go if your family's local?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this next part is a little bit graphic, so just a warning for those listening. On the morning of July 3rd, Jennie woke up earlier to grab water and to prepare dough, so she was kneading it, so she could prepare and make bread for the soldiers. That was one of their main things that they did, was like make these loaves of bread and kind of bring them around, which was very nice.
Yeah, that's really sweet. A little like ray of sunshine in a terrible battle.
Right. That morning alone, over 150 bullets hit the side of the brick house.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy. And an artillery shell actually hit their roof that morning as well.
Wow.
So a lot was happening. This was the third day of the battle. And while she was kneading the bread, she had a bedroom door open covering her, and the front door was also in front of this door. And a bullet came through, flew through both doors, and hit her in the shoulder. And the bullet then lodged itself in her heart, and she was wearing a corset, so it got trapped.
Oh my God.
And she died instantly.
Well, I guess it would be the way to go, but geez, she's just trying to bake some bread. I just can't imagine existing with a war going outside.
No, me either. Especially because I think the part that was crazy for me reading this and remembering is that the fact that she had both doors there, like, she knew that she was in danger just making bread in her kitchen.
Right. And what are you going to do?
Right. So she was immediately after she passed wrapped in a quilt and brought to her cellar and buried in her backyard.
That makes sense.
Yes. A quick note that I think is really sweet is that her mother made a point to use the dough that she was kneading that morning and made 15 loaves of bread with it for the soldiers.
That is a lot of dough to be kneading.
Yes.
She must have had arms of steel.
Forearms must have just been strong
So
as heck.
strong.
Yes. Another kind of sad part to the story is that Jack Skelly, her presumed fiance, never actually found out that she passed because he passed away 9 days later in captivity from wounds from the war. So neither one of them ever found out about the other's fate.
Maybe that's for the better.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? So, after she was buried in her backyard, now 2 years later, she was moved to the town's German Reformed Church in November 1865, and then moved again, where she was brought to Evergreen Cemetery next to Jack. So they're laying next to each other now.
Yeah, there was something there.
Yes.
You don't just bury, especially back then, you don't just bury young unmarried people next to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And her grave is also next to a flag that's always raised.
For Jack? Or for
Just
her?
for her. The only other, either female or person that a flag is always raised for is Betsy Ross.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, yes. And another fun fact, she's buried in the same cemetery where President Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address.
That's a fun fact, too.
Yeah. So, the reason that I went into her history so much is because there's actually a lot of things that kind of lend themselves, like I said earlier, to the hauntings that have happened, which I'll kind of explain as we go through each thing. To begin, there's a very detailed tour that you can take through the house, and the tour guides will dress up in the clothes of the time. And the house is pretty much left alone. There's, they moved some furniture around. I believe they've put in some new things to kind of showcase what a house just in general would look like. But they have the same floors. So her blood is still there.
I don't love that.
No,
You can scrub and scrub and scrub, but it's still there.
Yes, so it's still covering the floors where she fell. They also kept the same roof where the artillery shell punctured through. And finally, they also have the exact same doors that were there in 1863. So
With
the bullet holes
wow.
are there, which is crazy to me. I remember seeing them, but I was so young that I didn't really, it didn't really register how crazy that is, that those are still there.
That is, and that's a lot of preservation. That must cost a lot of money to upkeep a house that's that old.
Yes, and the stuff looks new. Like, I'm positive that they've repainted just from looking at pictures, because the paint is so clear. It's not like they're faded. It's really, I mean...
It must.
Yeah. So they really do a lot of preservation there, which is cool. And for the tours, it's cool to kind of see... just like, I don't know, how people lived back then. When I was younger,
I used to be obsessed with stuff like that, like where you could see the period clothes and the houses really arranged that way. That's super cool. If I go back to Gettysburg ever, both for the ghost story that I know we're going to get into and for the history, I definitely want to visit this house. Well, I guess I should hear the ghost story first.
Right. So during the tour, they show video evidence and EVP recordings to the people that are on this tour. I could not find this stuff anywhere. I'm sure that they keep it pretty, locked up, because you have to pay to go on the tour.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that it's not just on the internet somewhere, but they do have proof of it. So in general, visitors have heard just movements, moaning, and voices around the house as they're touring. In one TripAdvisor report, a visitor stated, "This time we did the midnight at the Jennie Wade house, was not," in capital, they were very enthusiastic, "was not disappointed, heard some odd noises on the upper floor, and felt like I was pushed while down in the basement."
I mean, that was where she was kept for a bit.
Yes. So I fully think, because there have been multiple reportings of people being pinched or pushed in the house. And, okay, again, skeptic, it could be someone messing around on the tour, you know?
With a stranger.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's when multiple people have reported it, I don't think it would be something that multiple strangers would take upon themselves to push a stranger.
That would be weird.
Yes. There have also been visitors who have just taken pictures of the house, because, again, it's interesting to just see the history of it, and have captured things like orbs, ghostly figures, or paranormal activity somewhere in the photo. And then the Jennie Wade house has actually collected these, and there's a photo wall in the basement with all of these different photos.
That's really cool. I love when these historical places lean into it. Like, there's something to be said for the history, absolutely. But, you know, a few places we've talked about, like Hotel Bethlehem has the ghosts on the website. Eastern State knows that there's lore that they're haunted. It's cool that they're, you know, referencing both sides of the coin.
Yes, I agree. And it's especially important that they're, like, acknowledging the people who have lived there and been there and like lived their lives in these places, which I think is cool. And finally, people have stated that they've seen Jennie walking through her house or walking through the countryside.
Oh, wow.
Which is interesting. So people have actually seen her specific ghost, and they have one picture of her that they found after all of the events have happened that we still have today. And so people know what she looks like.
So it's really her.
Yes. Like, it's not just some weird figure that they're like, probably Jennie. They're actually, you know, like, putting a face to the ghost. That's cool. Yeah, which is cool. The most interesting thing I found on this case is that Iron City Paranormal, which is, they're from Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
yes.
I was going to say, Iron City must be.
Right, exactly. So they did a whole investigation, and they have a whole report on their website, which was so interesting. It was really cool. So they experienced some general paranormal activity around the house, but they personally didn't get any pictures that showed anything. But they kind of broke it down by each room.
Okay.
And so that's how I'll also break it down. So the first thing that they went to is an upstairs bedroom on the Wade side.
Okay.
Wade meaning Jennie and her mother. Yeah. And for whatever reason, this room is known for children running around and playing. I
So
could
strange.
not find, yes, because I couldn't find any connection. Like, where did they come from? Why are the children returning here as ghosts?
Right.
Jennie didn't have any kids.
Yeah.
George's firstborn son was there, but there were no other interesting stories that I found historically of children.
I wonder if it's just from, like, other children that died. Like, maybe it's like, well, there's one ghost here, let's all be here.
Yes. So they could feel a presence when they went into this room. So they set up a REM pod, which is a device that creates its own electromagnetic field to connect to more spirits, which is interesting. They also set up a spirit box.
Okay.
The REM pod went off several times, so they would ask the children, or just ghosts in general, like, are you here? Can you hear us? And the REM pod would go off. It's kind of like an EMF where it buzzes.
Okay.
And so that's what it was doing. They also on their website have the recorded activity on the spirit box.
That's cool.
It was so cool. We'll definitely have to put the link in the description
Yes.
because it was interesting. So 3 of the biggest examples. At one point, the investigator said, if you get closer to this box, we can hear you. And someone came through and said, interesting.
That is really creepy.
So creepy. And then they asked the children, do you have enough toys? And someone faintly said, yes.
But at least they have enough toys.
Right.
I mean,
at least they're not getting bored, you know?
That's so sweet.
And then towards the end of the recording, you can clearly hear someone saying, play with me.
Aww.
Which is really cute.
They have so many toys.
Yes. And so so this room was the biggest communication that they got.
Right.
So there was a ton of activity. When they moved to the parlor, so something interesting about this room. Remember in the beginning when I talked about Jennie's father kind of being absent in jail and getting drunk a lot? He actually started getting better.
After his daughter died?
Before Jennie died. And then after she died, got worse again.
That makes more sense.
Yes. So he was spending time with them while they were in this house. And after she passed, he, again, like kind of got worse with his alcoholism. And he's known for making the room smell like alcohol. And he creates a very unwanted feeling.
Oh, wow.
In the room. So people will feel nauseous. They'll want to leave. And they did experience this, but nothing significant in the room was recorded.
That's so interesting to me how these paranormal occurrences can come through so many ways. Like, you can smell things, you just get feelings, you can hear things, you can see things. It's really all-encompassing.
Yes. It genuinely feels like it's just, like, when you're in these spaces, it's everything. It takes over all of your senses.
Yeah.
So the kitchen they went into next, and this is where Jennie died, at the table. Some people have said that they've heard loud thuds in the spot where she fell. So they'll be in the basement and they can hear something thud above them. I don't think I could handle that.
No, that would make me so scared.
Yes. And I would feel so sad. Like, So, in the kitchen, they didn't capture a ton of recording, but one of the investigators said that they felt somebody on the stairs next to them while they were sort of in the kitchen area, but like near the stairs. And they took pictures with a thermal camera, and in the picture, you can see an arm around this person. It's very faint. It's not like the arm of a real human. It's like the arm of a spirit.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Captured on camera.
Yes. It's very interesting. And then the basement. So this was where Jennie was laid after she passed. They didn't receive any like verbal communication, but at one point you can hear a knock. So they ask her or whatever ghost you know, is taking up that space to kind of give them a sign, and you can hear a knock on a door. They also had some physical interactions. So being pinched, chest pressure. Yeah, if somebody pinched me and I was on a bench by myself, I think I would scream and run.
Right.
And the thermal camera, again, they took pictures, showed an unexplained person sitting on the bench beside them.
That's crazy.
Yes. So you could see that it wasn't a full person, just like a little spirit, but was really there. And it eventually disappeared. So that's the other thing. They took multiple photos and you can see it like disappearing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's really crazy. It's really crazy. So that is kind of the overall hauntings that have happened in this house. And some people have speculated why Jennie might be haunting the place. And there's really two theories that I've heard of that I read during my research. First of all, people think that it may be due to the fact that her resting place was moved twice.
Right.
Because some think that people disturbed her spirit when they moved her body. Which I understand why they moved her body, because of course, you know, if she was engaged to Jack, then yeah, that's nice that she's resting next to him. But they moved her twice.
After she laid out in the cellar for a while.
Yes. Others think that she remains because she's reluctant to leave her homeland. So when people have seen her walking through the house or through the countryside, people think that it's just familiar. She was really young, you know, so it may just be her wanting to hang on to some familiarity.
Right.
And lastly, there's a really cute legend that's associated with this place. So this comes directly from the Battlefield's website. And it says, "It has long been said that when a woman places her ring finger in the bullet hole, she will soon be proposed to and a ring will be placed on that finger. We regularly receive letters and emails claiming that the legend came true. Some believe that Jennie, her marriage thwarted and her betrothal cut short by death, would want to bring others the marital bliss that she was denied."
That is so sweet.
It is.
I was going to say maybe she's there waiting for Jack, but I like this story too.
Yes. So, yeah, overall, a very nice spirit. And I have visited. I definitely would visit again knowing all of this because I didn't know this when I was like 9 or 10. But what about you? What do you think?
I would definitely visit. I have been to Gettysburg twice. Once was when I was too young to really remember what we did, and once was literally just to take my license test. My parents wanted me to get it so badly, we drove 2.5 hours. The drive was harder than the test, but I would like to go back to Gettysburg in general to spend more time there and add this to the list of places to go. I don't know that I would want to be there at night, not that you even can, but I would definitely go check out like the museum and stuff, but alone at night, probably not.
Right. And you can. I think there are midnight tours, I think. So you can be there. But I agree. I think the thing that deters me from trying to connect in the house is that if her father is actually there, it's very clear that he's just, just feels very disturbed by everybody. Right. And so that's another thing to take into consideration is if he's there, he probably really just wants to be left alone.
Yeah. But here are all these people day in and day out walking through.
Yes. So that is the story of Jennie Wade and the house where she passed in the Battle of Gettysburg. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Paranormal in Pennsylvania, and tune in next week to see where we go next.